be talking about when to operate in CSM. No disclosures regarding this talk. As you know that the cervical spondylotic myelopathy will comes in all shapes and forms, from single level, multi-level, OPLL, and with a normal alignment, a lordotic alignment, and something like a kyphotic alignment, which was I operated recently. These are all the forms of CT scan you will see in your daily practice. And obviously, there will be some overlap with the previous speaker because of the topic. And there is always a static and dynamic component to myelopathy. So there is an obvious compression, and then there is a micro motion which is happening because of repeated neck movements, and that also contributes to myelopathy. And what factors guide our surgical decision making is to consider the MJOS score, which the previous speaker also highlighted. It measures the neurological severity, K-line status, which helps in alignment, and then a sagittal alignment, whether the spine is lordotic, kyphotic, or straight. In addition to the standard Cobb's angle, there is a concept of effective lordosis, which I'll discuss, and whether the patient has axial neck pain. That also influences your approach. So MJOS score we all know and we frequently use. It's an 18-point scale for assessing CSM. There are many modifications for Indian context as well, and it has motor, sensory, and bladder sphincter components. And we all know that 15 to 17 is mild, 12 to 14 is moderate, and less than 12 is severe. And moderate and severe usually undergo surgery, and mild usually can be observed, and if they are clinically stable. So is there a role of non-operative management? Yes, there is a role, especially in mild cases with stable neurology. What are the absolute indications of surgery? Are the progression of neurological signs and symptoms. If the myelopathy, moderate to severe, is present for more than 6 months or longer, and if there is a severe spinal cord compression, which is defined as a compression ratio of 0.4, and the transverse spinal cord area of less than 40 square millimeter. So these are absolute indications for surgery. At times you will see an MRI in which there is a severe cervical stenosis, but the patient is relatively asymptomatic. What to do for them? Should they offer surgery? So it all depends on what is the age, what is the level of activity of the patient, and risk of injury should be considered in such asymptomatic severe canal stenosis, and that should guide your clinical decision making. Importance of sagittal alignment will come in the next lecture also. There are just a few points. As you know that if it's a kyphotic alignment, then the spinal cord may be draped over the anterior vertebral bodies, and it may not fall after you decompress posteriorly. Whereas in lordotic spine, it will fall back after a posterior decompression procedure. So normal C2 to C7 lordosis is between 20 to 35 degrees. And in a kyphotic spine and a lordotic spine, different surgical approaches are thought of. So if kyphotic, then you go anterior, and if it's lordotic, you can go posterior. These all parameters has been discussed. So T1 slope or C7 slope is also one of the parameters for cervical lordosis, which is now considered. So this effective lordosis is come into picture because the traditional C2 to C7 Cobb's doesn't actually reflect the ventral canal obstruction. So this is a C2, just 30 seconds. This is a line from the caudal C2 to the dorsal caudal C7. So as you can see, if this line is not crossed, then that's a lordotic spine. And if it is crossed, then it's a kyphotic spine. So vertebral end plates and osteophyte in this case protrude posterior to this line. That also indicate that it's a kyphotic spine. So it matters because it aligns the surgical choice with true cord clearance potential rather than just a C2 to C7 Cobb's. K-line will be discussed in next lecture also. And we know that a K-line negative will require an anterior approach, and a K-line positive can undergo posterior approach. Axial neck pain, again, if there is an axial neck pain, anterior procedures are better to relieve that compared to posterior procedure. And even if you are doing posterior, then you have to supplement it with fixation and compared to avoid laminoplasty in case there is a significant axial neck pain. And the algorithm, we will all know, it depends on number of levels, alignment, and age. And what I follow in clinical practice is if it is more than or equal to 3 levels, it's posterior, less than 3 levels is anterior. Alignment, kyphotic, K-line negative, anterior, lordotic, it's posterior. Straight spine is individualized. If you want to do posterior, then augment it with fixation to recreate lordosis. Young patient is usually anterior, older is posterior, and very old, more than 75, even a laminectomy will do in such cases. So to conclude, there is a general consensus that symptomatic and progressive CSM will require surgical management, moderate to severe MGOA. Very mild CSM may be offered conservative management with rehab with regular follow-up. Limited role of watchful expectancy in asymptomatic patient with severe radiological canal stenosis. And choice of surgery depends upon the number of levels, alignment, and age of the patient as we seen in the last slide. Thank you so much for your kind attention.